Now we're going to be looking at some circles, right? So let's look at the circles with center at origin. So the general equation of a circle is given by x minus a squared plus y minus b squared is equal to r squared, where a and b are the coordinates of the center point, right? So the center point is that one there, the center of that circle, and the circumference is, and this circle has its center at the origin, so meaning that the coordinates of the center are 0 and 0. And remember that a line going through the center of the circle and to the so from circumference going through center to the other side of the circumference is a diameter, and a diameter is just two radii put together. Now let's carry on. Now remember, we're going to use the general equation that says x minus a squared plus y minus b all squared is equal to r squared. But now since your a is 0, so this will be 0 here, right, and your b will be 0, so x minus 0 is just x and it was squared. The y minus 0 is just going to be y squared is equal to r squared. So circle at center with center at origin has the formula x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. Now let's look at this point. A circle with center 0 and 0 is symmetrical about the origin, i.e. for every point xy there is also the point minus x and minus y. Now a circle centered on the origin is also symmetric about the y-axis and the x-axis. Now let's carry on. Now circle with a certain center, no longer 0 and 0. Now we have to stick to the equation that we know, x minus a squared plus y minus b squared is equal to r squared, where a, b are the coordinates for the center point xy. Xy is a point on the circumference. Okay, so now they're saying xy is a point on the circumference, so it's this here. We can take a closer look there. So we just have that certain point there, and now it's no longer at the origin. The center is no longer at the origin, but it has some coordinates. Now let's carry on. Now what we need to do here, right, is we need to, let's look at that formula, right? So if it's a formula like this, what we need to do is we need to complete the square in order to get it in the form x minus a all squared plus y minus b all squared is equal to r squared. We need to complete that square. Then, but we have to do those separately for x and y. So we'll group these together, and then we'll group this together with that to complete the square. Then we have to halve and the square. So we have to halve what? The coefficient of x and y respectively. So if we're starting with the x, we'll take the coefficient of x, which is 32, divided by 2, and then square it. Then what we need to do is add the answer to both sides of the equation. Write out your square brackets to get the equation in the form x minus a squared plus y minus b squared is equal to r squared. Now let's quickly do that. Okay, now what we need to do is let's put this in order. So x squared plus 32x plus y squared plus 16y is equal to minus 240. Now let's complete the square. So we know that we have x squared plus 32, then we have to say 32x, then take 32 divided by 2. That is just going to be 16. Now all we need to do is we need to then say plus 16 squared. This is then fine. Then we need to carry on and say y squared plus 16y plus 16 divided by 2 will give you 8. So we'll have 8, right? But we need to square it. This is going to be equal to minus 240 plus 16 squared plus 8 squared. The reason we're adding this is because we added it on the left and we also added the 8 on the left. So whatever we do on the left, we also need to do on the right. Now we know that this is just going to be x plus 16 squared plus y plus 8 all squared. This is then, let's quickly find it on our calculator. So minus 240 plus 16 squared plus 8 squared, and that will give you 80. Now as you can see, it's in that form that we want. So this means that our center has coordinates minus 16 and minus 8. Those are the coordinates of the center, and our radius is just going to be root 80. Now let's carry on. Now let's look at an equation of a tangent to a circle. Right? A tangent is a straight line that touches the circumference of a circle at one point only. Then they're saying tangent AB touch the circle at point P. Right? So this is the tangent AB, and as you can see, it touches the circle only once at point P. It's a tangent because it touches the circle only once at point P. Now they're saying the radius r of the circle is perpendicular to the tangent at the point of contact. So wherever they touch each other, the radius and the tangent, they will be perpendicular to each other. So this means that angle P of CPA will be 90 degrees, and also angle P of CPB will also be 90 degrees. Now they're saying the product of the gradient of the line CP, the radius, and the gradient of the line AB, the tangent, is equal to minus 1. Why is it minus 1? Because the gradient of a radius multiplied the gradient of a tangent will always be minus 1. Those are perpendicular lines. Now let's carry on. Let's look at this example. They're saying find the equation of the circle and tangent f of x, right? So this is f of x. Now first we need to find the equation of the circle. So what we need is, let's find this r here. So r, right, we can find by using the distance formula. So this is just going to be the square root of 3 minus 1 squared plus 6 minus 4 all squared. So this is just 2 squared and then plus 2 squared, all under a square root. So 2 squared is 4 plus 4. So this is just the square root of 8. So now we know that this simplifies to 2 root 2 as our r. 2 root 2. Let me just put the 2 there. This is r. Now let's find the equation of the circle. So this will be x minus a, and a is 1. Remember, this is the a and this is the b. So x minus 1 all squared plus y minus b all squared is equal to 2 root 2 all squared. Now we need to find the equation of the tangent. Now if we try to find the equation of the tangent, we need to find the gradient of the radius first. Then we can manipulate it to find the gradient of the tangent. So the gradient of the radius will just be 6 minus 4 over 3 minus 1, and that will just give you 2 over 2, which then gives you 1. So now we know that the gradient of the radius multiplied by the gradient of the tangent is equal to minus 1. So this means that the gradient of the tangent will then be minus 1. Now we can use the formula y minus y1 is equal to m into x minus x1. Then we start substituting. Y minus 6 is equal to minus 1 into x minus 3. So we have y is equal to minus x, then this will be positive 3, then plus 6. This is just going to be plus 9. And that is the equation of the tangent. Now let's carry on. Now they're saying if two circles are touching externally. So touching externally is indicated with this diagram. This is how they touch externally there, right? Now this then just means that the distance C1, C2, so this whole distance from that center to this center, excuse my line, it's not straight, so that distance there, right, is just given by R1 plus R2, because these circles touch only at one point. So to come from here to that one will just be R1 plus R2. Now if two circles are touching internally, so that just means that to find the distance C1, C2, all we need to do is find this radius of circle 1, right? Then subtract the radius of circle C2 from it to find the distance C1, C2, because C1, C2 is this whole distance. Then we just need to get rid of the small distance, right? And how do we do that? We just say R1 minus R2. Now that you understand what's going on, it's your turn to pause the video and try the following question. Okay, now that you've attempted the questions, let's see if you're on the right track. So they're saying calculate the coordinates of S, which is the center of the circle, right? Now remember, this point has coordinates 0 and 0. Now we can find S very easy because we know that this guy is equal to that guy. So S is in the middle, so we can use the midpoint formula. So M of OP is just x1 plus x2 over 2, right? And then we have y1 plus y2 over 2. Now that'll just be 0 plus 4 over 2, comma 0 plus negative 6 over 2. Now let's quickly solve that. So 0 plus 4 is just going to be 4, then divide that by 2, you'll get 2 there. Then 0 minus 6 is just minus 6. Divide that by 2, that'll be minus 3. So the coordinates of S are 2 and minus 3. Moving along. Now we need to calculate the length of the radius of the circle. Leave your answer in surd form. So we need to find the length of the radius. So remember, here we had 2 and minus 3. That's going to be quite easy because we're just looking for the distance of SP, and this is just the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Then let's quickly do that. The square root. Now let's see. Now my x2 will be 4, my x1 will just be 2, then square that, plus, then minus 6 minus minus 3 squared. Let's quickly just find that. So this will be 4 minus 2 is just 2 squared. That'll just be 4. Then minus 6 minus minus 3. So this is just like minus 6 plus 3. So this will be minus 3 squared, which is just what? 9. So this is the square root of 13 for the radius of the circle. Now moving along. Determine the equation of the circle in the form x minus a squared plus y minus b squared is equal to r squared. That's going to be quite easy because we do have the coordinates of the center. So we know that this is just going to be x minus 2 squared plus y minus 3 squared. This is equal to what? Square root of 13, and this has to be squared as well. There you have it. That is the equation of the circle. Now let's carry on. Now they're saying, why is QPU equal to 90? And look at the hat, it's on P. So what are they trying to say? Why is angle P of QPU 90 degrees? So Q, let's locate that, QPU, right? So QP, so this angle here. So why is that 90? Because this, so SP is equal to radius. And then QU is what? Tangent. Now, whenever radius and tangent meet, right, they meet at right angles, meaning that SP is perpendicular to QU, right? So since SP is perpendicular to QU, then angle P is going to be 90 degrees. SP is perpendicular to QU, that's why angle P is 90 degrees. Now let's carry on. Show that the equation of the tangent UQ is equal to 2 over 3x minus 26 over 3. Now we're looking for this guy, the equation of that guy. Now let's see, right? We found the gradient of SP. We know that it's perpendicular to the tangent. So m of SP multiplied by m of UQ will be equal to minus 1. Now the gradient here, so remember these coordinates were 2 and minus 3, right? Now let's quickly just find that gradient. I have it in my book here. Now that is just minus 3 over 2. Then we'll just multiply it with the gradient of UQ, which is equal to minus 1. Now we divide both sides by minus 3 over 2. Then m of UQ is just going to be 2 over 3. Now we're going to use this formula here. Y minus y1 is equal to m into x minus x1. Then we're going to say y minus minus 6, which is just plus 6, is equal to m, which is 2 over 3, into x minus 4. Now we're just going to say y is equal to 2 over 3 x, then minus 8 over 3. Then we bring the 6 over, it becomes minus. So this, if you check on your calculator, will just give you this equation here. Y is equal to 2 over 3 x minus 26 over 3. There you have it. So we've proven that the equation is actually that. Now let's carry on. Now they're saying determine the coordinates of t. Right? So t is this guy here, right? And we know that that is what? That is the y-intercept of the circle. So for y-intercept, remember we can just say y-int or y-cut x is equal to 0. Now, what was the equation of the circle? Let me just check it. I have it in my book. So the equation of the circle was just x minus 2 all squared plus y plus 3 squared is equal to 13. Now we know that x is 0, so this will just be 0 minus 2 all squared plus y plus 3 all squared is equal to 13. Now what's 0 minus 2? It's just minus 2 squared, give you 4. And here you're going to have two brackets that will yield y squared plus 6y plus 9. Okay, my pen is misbehaving. Okay, now let's see. There we go. Plus 9 is equal to 13. Now let's quickly solve that. So y squared plus 6y is just equal to 0 because these two will add up to 13. Then when you take it over to the other side, it subtracts each other. So you're going to have y into y plus 6 is equal to 0. So y is equal to 0 or y is equal to minus 6. So now we know that it can only be minus 6 because the 0 is that one there. So the coordinates of t are just what? 0 and minus 6. Now let's carry on. Now it says determine the ratio of area of OTP over area PTU in its simplest form. Let's quickly do that. So OTP would then, I'm just going to introduce this line here. So OTP, we know that it will be half base times the height, right? Over PTU, which is also going to be half base times height. And that is just the same as, now this cancels that, right? So they have the same bases, remember? Now this base is going to cancel that base, but the height of OTP is something different, right? And I do have that there, right, in my book, and we know the coordinates of t, remember? So the height is just the length of OT, and that is just 6. Now it will just be UT, right? But what is UT? So UT is the same as, I'm just going to do it on the side. UT is just 26 over 3 minus 6, because 26 over 3 is this entire distance here, but we're just looking for this distance. Then that will give you minus 8 over 3. And this is just minus 9 over 4, right? And that is in its simplest form. And that's how we do those questions there. And we're going to call it a day here. See you next time.